Hello and welcome to today's webinar, BIM 360 Accelerate Project Delivery While Minimizing Contractor Risks. This webinar is brought to you by LiveLab Learning, which is a subsidiary of Academic Corp, a wholly owned applied software company created to provide world-class training. This is Tiffany Bierken, and I'm delighted to be your moderator today. Throughout our presentation, we encourage you to interact with us by typing in questions and comments using the question pane. We will be answering questions at the end of the presentation. And this webinar is being recorded and will be available to you on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, search LiveLab Learning on Facebook and like our page to receive the latest information and special offers. When you visit our website, livelablearning.com, there is a complete schedule of upcoming training. And please also take note of our upcoming events and webinars. And please join me in welcoming today's speaker, Mark Petrucci. Mark is a Senior Application Specialist here at Applied Software. He has earned the Autodesk Building Construction Specialization as well as Autodesk BIM 360 Advisor for Technical. So Mark, I will hand it over to you.
Great, thank you, Tiffany. Hello, everyone. So today's webinar is titled Accelerate Project Delivery While Minimizing Project Risks. My name is Mark Petrucci, and I want to talk to you a little bit about BIM 360. And we'll hear the term BIM 360 thrown out a lot, but I do want to clarify that there are many pieces and parts to BIM 360. First, there's BIM 360 Field, and that's a cloud-based solution for the field. We can manage, collaborate, and report in the field with the mobile app. Field deals mainly with data, but that data could be linked to models and drawings. BIM 360 Glue allows us to connect the entire project team and help streamline the project to review and for collaboration and coordination. This is where we're actually viewing a model, and we can do markups as well as clash detection and coordination. A new app or a new service, BIM 360 Plan. This is a web service in addition to the others, which is for the vertical construction market. It supports lean construction practices. So use BIM 360 Plan, cloud, and mobile software to help build more reliable project work plans and help reduce waste associated with overproduction, excess inventory, and tasks rework. Finally, BIM 360 Layout is the process of locating points out in the field. Locating points that we place in our models will help us be more efficient and more accurate, reducing errors. And by reducing errors, we're also having a positive impact on the schedule. We are going to focus on BIM 360 Field. So BIM 360 Field is cloud-based, as I have said, and allows you to dramatically improve the way you work by giving virtually infinite computing power or information to our team in the field. Today we'll take a high-level look at BIM 360 Field, and we'll review many of the functions, such as the library function. With the library, we can place up-to-date drawings, or I should say documents, in BIM 360 Field, and it'll be available to the team in the office as well as at the field using an iPad. Another very important function is issues. This is how we can log, assign, and track not only non-conforming items, but also conforming items in the field. And then we'll take a look at checklists, and we'll see how we can streamline the process of utilizing checklists to verify, document, and inspect work for safety managers, quality control managers, and so on. And last, we'll look at how all this information is gathered, compiled, and how we can manage it in the web interface, because there's a lot of information associated with the project, but using the web interface, we can manage that data. So we'll take a look at first the iPad interface, and then we'll take a look at the web interface on the PC. So we'll open up our iPad, and here are the different BIM 360 apps that are available, and we'll go ahead and we'll focus on BIM 360 Field. So here's the screen you'll see while the app is loading. When this appears, this will prompt us to sign in So we'll sign in with our email address. Once we've logged in, we'll have access to a number of projects. Here you'll see the Autobahn project. And I can access any of the information related to Autobahn. Now, down in the lower right-hand corner, this is our sync button. And when you see the little orange button, that lets you know that there has been additional information placed on the web that you now need to synchronize so that you have all that information available to you on the iPad. Now, you don't need to synchronize everything. You have complete control on what to synchronize. And in this case, it looks like we'll synchronize all the library folders and all the issues and all the checklists, as well as all equipment. But maybe I just want to sync up just my unresolved tasks. So if I click on the sync button, and I only need to do this really only twice a day, once in the morning and then prior to heading to the job site, and then once in the afternoon. So all the information that I gathered in the field can now synchronize with the cloud. So now that we're logged in, let's take a look at the library function. And this is where we place all the latest information related to our project. So jumping back on my iPad, we'll start by clicking on the Go To button. Down in the lower left-hand corner, when I click the Go To button, here are the different services that I can select. And I'll go ahead and select on the library function. You can browse this. The files that we upload can be sorted by folders. We can do this a number of different ways. It's completely up to you how you want to sort them. But what's powerful about this is that all these files are now on the iPad, and we're working offline. And we can use these files to create markups or take pictures of issues that we see in the field and attach them to the drawings. And so having this information available to us, we don't have to record it on a clipboard, head back to the office, and then start typing up reports. We're doing everything live right here on the iPad. So let's take a look at one of our drawings. Once I open up a drawing, I have complete control on if I want to zoom in, pan around, and I have access to the latest information. All right. That's a broad overview of the library function. Again, real-time updated plans, schedules, models, anything you need right at your fingertips. And no wireless internet required. We can select our folder and view lead documentation. Here we have a PDF file as well as an Excel file. In addition, maybe I'll take a look at OSHA. And I have an OSHA document related to personal protective equipment. And I could head over to schedules, and I can see here that I have version 2.1 for my team in the field. They can open it up and they can view the latest schedule. So you can see how beneficial this would be for the guys working out in the field. They'll always have the latest information readily available for review. That is the library function. Now let's take a look at one of the most powerful features, which is issues. Issues is where we will log, assign, and track items out in the field, work items, punch list items, etc. Typically, the workflow now, our guys are heading out to fields with maybe a notepad, and they're recording issues, heading back to the office, sitting down, typing up those issues, or handing them off to somebody else to type them up, and then notify the different subcontractors of the issues. And so there's a lot of time wasted by re-inputting the information. Why not gather that information live when you're in the field? So let's jump back over to the same plan that we viewed in the library earlier. Say you're walking around in the field and you have this plan pulled up. You see a dent in the drywall. So we can come up here and we can hit on our action button, and then we'll see an option that says add an issue. So I'll go ahead and select add issue, and immediately it's going to create a new issue for me. Now what I need to do is fill in the information related to this issue. Now the first thing we need to apply or type in is a description. So maybe I'll type in here dent and drywall, patch and paint. However, if you notice right down here, I have a list of descriptions that I've already typed in. So I can save the time. I don't have to rewrite it. All I have to do is select it, and immediately it's going to get filled in for me. Now what I want to do is fill in additional information, and you'll see all the different fields that we have the option to fill in. There's a few that we have to fill in, such as our description and the company. But I can add attachments. They could be PDF files, they could be photos. If I go ahead and I select company, I want to assign this particular issue to a company. So I'll select Don's Drywall and Paint. By doing this, Don will be informed that there's an issue, dent in the drywall, and a particular room needs to be corrected. When I head back to my office and I resync my iPad, Don will automatically be notified that there's an issue for him. Let's say I want to take a look at some of the attachments. Well, I already had an image, a floor plan pulled up, and I created an issue from that floor plan. So BIM 360 Field automatically created or automatically attached the PDF for me. But now what I'd like to do is actually show a picture of the image. So if I hit add, and I'll just back up here, if I go back to add attachment, I have the option of taking a photograph of that particular issue, dent in the drywall. If I want to, I can also access photos that are already existing on my iPad as well. But in this case, I noticed a problem with the drywall. I'll go ahead and I'll take a picture of it, and immediately it opens up a editor mode where I can now add some information to this particular photo. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and select the pencil function, and then I'll go ahead and select the color. Then what I can do is I can simply just circle the area. Maybe there's multiple areas. And then last, I probably want to create a note. And here I can type in the same description that I had earlier. Or if I want to put in additional information, I could do that as well. So once I've typed that in, I'll hit return. And now this patch and paint note and the red line are now part of this image file. And there are other things that I can do with it. I have many more tools available to me. But this is all I really need at the very minimum to provide to my guys so they could see the problem that I'm creating this issue around. So from here, I'll go ahead and just close this up. And now we can see that we've attached this image to the issue. And when Don's Drywall receives an email and they open up their issue, they will actually see not only the PDF file, but also the image file that I just created. When I finish the issue, this is what the issues look like. A little explanation about this screen, because we will have thousands of issues created on a job site. So I can sort this by location, or I can view all my issues. If I sort this by location, you'll notice that it says right here, Building B, Floor 1, Room 102, Dent and Drywall. This is a brand new issue I just created. We can also see this is open. When Don receives it, Don has the ability then to go back in and mark it as work completed. And what will happen is the person creating this issue will receive an email that says this has been completed, and then I can review it and mark it as ready to inspect, and then I can approve it or mark it as in dispute. But once I accept it, I can close it. So a number of functions that I have available to me. Right here, it's showing me who this issue is assigned to, and then it's showing me that I have two attachments for this particular issue. If we notice, as we scroll down, we can see other issues related. Here's an issue related to ductwork, and Mike's Mechanicals receiving that one. If I want to, I can sort this by subcontractor. Or if I'm the sub, I'll only see my particular issues. Now, something very easy to miss, notice right down here, this is my sync button, and notice it has a yellow circle. So that's an indication that there are some changes, there are some new issues. I can view them here, I see it here, but this is a quick indication, so I know later in the day that I need to resync so I can update my issues on the web. Well, let's say we want to be a little bit more specific with this particular issue, because I've noted the issue and who needs to resolve it. And I also attached a photo, but that photo doesn't tell you exactly which wall. It notes there's a hole in the drywall, but not which particular wall. Now, on a small room, you can walk in and you can see it. But if we want to, we could also place pins to help better provide information to the sub exactly where the problem is. So if you take a look at this, this is an overview of the pins. So pins are color-coded by issue status. So for instance, red can represent open items, meaning the item is pending and it needs to be corrected or fixed. Purple can represent work that's been completed, meaning the subcontractor has acknowledged the issue and they've marked it as complete, but the GC still needs to sign off on it, and ultimately the GC will then mark it as closed. And that leads us to the green. So the green represents closed items. The issue's been identified, it's been corrected by the appropriate subcontractor, they were notified, they resolved it, and now the issue's been corrected and signed off on. So now let's take a look at checklists. So back on my iPad, I'll hit my Go To button in the lower left, and I'll go ahead and select Checklist. Here I can see a list of checklists that we've created. Now you can build any sort of checklist you want. You can see these are all the checklists related to QA, QC, quality assurance, quality control. There are some standard checklists provided with Field, but if your company has their own standard checklist, it's very easy to add your own checklist to BIM 360 Field. Here we can see some checklists related to safety and even commissioning checklists. So let's open up a checklist, and this one that we've opened up is related to concrete forming, and this is what a checklist looks like. So this is related to form removal. So the guys are inspecting the concrete formwork, and they could read through the items and proceed down the checklist. Imagine as you're doing this on paper. This is easy enough to review the checklist and then mark something as yes, no, approved, not approved, pass, fail, and so on. But here we're doing this all on the iPad. So if we want to verify that something has been approved, we can go ahead and hit the little plus sign, and it says, okay, that's been verified. If I want to move down to ensure forms remain in place until expiration of curing period required, I can go ahead and hit plus, and that's been approved. Item number 3 says, ensure that forms are tightened and maintained snug against concrete surfaces. So let's say that the person reviewing the checklist is on item 3, and he needs to reference the specs to find out more information about the formwork. So you'll notice that this blue eye appears on some of the checklist items. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the blue eye, and this is showing that I have some attachments related to this particular item. So here in this case, we have a spec section for reference. So we can choose it. It will open up this PDF. I can review it. And I have all the information related to the specifications at my fingertips. And here I can review and get further clarification about any particular item on my checklist. So in this particular case, after reviewing it, I realized that, or the person running the checklist realized that this is not conforming. Non-conforming, I'll go ahead and select the minus. Now when I do that, if I come right over here, it automatically created an issue related to this particular item. Now I can continue further down my checklist and review everything, and then I can come back and add more information to that particular issue. When I select it, a new issue window pops up, and this looks exactly like what we've seen before. Notice the description is automatically filled in for me. It's based on the checklist, what was written here. I'm going to back up one. If I want to, I could enter comments as well related to this particular issue. So you'll notice also that there are two attachments that have been added to this issue. As the issue is being created, I can go ahead and select attachments, and then I can include photos, PDF files, any other information related to it. Now, getting back to my overall checklist, there are many different options for answering checklist items. Yes, no, plus, minus. We can place a date that for formwork removal. We could also place a little box to enter which crew was working on that particular item in the checklist. So checklists are very versatile, that we can build specific checklists and verify, document, and inspect anything at the job site. Lastly, up here in the upper right-hand corner, there's a pretty cool function for checklists. Say the guy initially filling out the checklist is on site every day, but has to report back to a QC manager or a safety manager, and the safety manager is back at the corporate office. So the person can hit the header button in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll notice this function here for signatures. If I select signatures, now on your iPad, you can simply scribble who the author was of this checklist. Scribble the person's name, and you can click Done, and then send this off for the reviewer, and then the reviewer can sign off on it. So the guy who has boots on the ground in the field, he's completed the formwork compliance checklist, and he signs off on it. Then the QC manager sitting back at the corporate office can sign off on the checklist as well, verifying that everything was filled out and is completed correctly. Keep in mind, the QC manager is also able to see the issues that arose during the reviewing of this checklist, and they can follow up as necessary. So now it's the end of the day, and you're back in the trailer, and it's time to sync all the issues you've created, the checklist that you've filled out, anything that you observed and tracked out in the field. So again, down here in the lower right-hand corner, it's letting us know that it needs to resync. So I simply click on my sync button, and right here I can review, prior to syncing, I could review everything that I'm going to sync to the cloud. This is my opportunity to remove or erase any issues that I may have created accidentally. And so once I sync it, then it will go up in the cloud, and I won't be able to erase it. But there's other things I could do once an issue is resolved, or I don't need it to be up in the cloud anymore. But here I have a chance to review what I'm going to sync prior to hitting the sync button. So once I hit the sync button, it'll show you your sync in progress. Excuse me. One thing I should mention, the very first time you do the syncing, you'll wait a couple minutes because there's a lot of information to synchronize. But after that, daily syncs go rather quickly because you're only updating changes. So let's now review or quickly review the website interface, because we've sent a bunch of information, or we've retrieved information on the iPad, created issues, checklists, and so on. We now want to review everything that's on the web. So we do this through your computer, and the website is bim360field.autodesk.com. The same email address that you use to log into your iPad, you can use to log in on the website. If you're a project manager, you will see issues created by different subcontractors, but here subs can review their own issues and checklists. Project managers can review everybody's. So once you're logged in, it'll bring you to this landing page. This is the home screen, which can show you a multitude of different things. In the top left, we have an equipment progress tracker. It's a pie chart, and how much equipment's been delivered, how much has been installed, how much of it has been approved. Below that is the subcontractor performance bar graph. We can see how well the subs are performing on the job. The bottom right is an issue tracker, and with our issue tracker, we can see how many total issues there are on the project and how many of those issues are actually closed. You can set this landing page up however you want to reflect whatever information you want. In one stop, this is a great way to really get a quick glimpse of what's happening on your project. And this is really where owners, executives, etc. find value in the tool, because they're able to check in on their project just like they're checking the weather. Now, what's important to know is everybody will have their own dashboard, so everybody can customize this to their liking. Back up one second. So to get back to your dashboard, you click on this little icon right here in the upper left. Below that is our issues. And here you can view a comprehensive list of all the issues that have been created on your job. And we can see where they're located. Every issue will get an ID number. Here's the description. And here's the important part. Remember, with descriptions, when we were on the iPad, some people may word things a little differently. You can preset some of those descriptions, so then you can start grouping and sorting by description. We can see the company that the issue is assigned to. We can see what type of issue and the status. Literally, we will have thousands of issues, and so there are a number of ways in which we can sort this. Right over here is my search function. When I select the search function, this panel opens up, and from here now, pretty much every column that we see listed here also shows up in our search window. So now maybe I just want to review issues that are unresolved. I don't need to see resolved issues. I just want to see the ones that are unresolved. Or maybe I want to see them by description. Maybe I'm going to have a meeting with a specific sub, and so I want to bring up all of that sub's issues so I can sort them by company. So, sorry here. So it's a very valuable part of this web interface, but all this information, we need a way to report on it. So right down here, I'll go ahead and select my reporting. And here are some standard reports. Now, this is an overview of some of the reports that you can run for issues, and we can customize any of these, such as average time to close an issue. So you can see the average time it takes for each subcontractor or trade to close out issues or items in the field. We could look at counts by author, how many issues have been logged by a certain user. You can also report on how many open or closed items a subcontractor has. So let's take a look at issues list. So let's say we want to run a subcontractor's weekly open issues report. We want to see on a weekly basis how many issues each subcontractor has that is still marked open, because this is a report that will be running every single week. Now, the advantage here with Field, I could also schedule this so that the report runs automatically. So I'll fill in the necessary information, and I can go ahead and select on schedule. And on the right hand side, I can give the schedule a name, I could put in a description, I could decide on how often it's going to run. And I could decide on which days and at which time. And maybe I'll have the report run 7 a.m. every Monday. And this is something I don't have to think about. It just does it on its own. And then I can place in here what the subject line is in the email, as well as the message, a quick little message to the person receiving the email. Now, once I save the scheduled report, it'll show up in my list, and it will run by itself on a weekly basis. And if I wanted to, I could at any time go ahead and run the report on the fly at any time. And finally, this is just an example of the information included in a report after it's run. As you can see, this is a report for Don's Drywall. It sorts out his issues by location. And we can see here, Building B, Floor 2, Room 202. There are 3 issues related to this room. On the elevation, east elevation, we have 3 issues related to that. I'm sorry, I just got a little ahead of myself. We can also see the status of the issues, if they're open, what type of issue, the date it was created, and the due date. So this is a report that's run weekly, and each subcontractor receives their own report on their issues. Excuse me. Lastly, this is just some Autodesk BIM 360 customers. This list has not been updated recently. It is probably twice as big as what we see here, but we have a number of GCs as well as subs who like to take advantage of the benefits of BIM 360 Field. So that concludes today's presentation. Any questions? All right. If you guys have any questions, feel free to visit us on livelablearning.com. This will be it's recorded and will be placed on LiveLab. You can also reach out to Applied Software and our website. Here is Tiffany's email address, and please feel free to reach out to her for demos of the software specific to your needs. We'd be happy to set up a time to discuss them and come out and show you live how this software works. And that concludes. Thank you, everyone.